Hi, my name is Kristen Cox and I'm with Checkpoint Services. I'm also on the board of Texas Association of Hubs, and this video is one of a series being made for our Hub members. It is to help you with your legislative advocacy both in your home office and when you're in Austin. Probably the most requests I get for assistance are for help with payment issues. We all know that cash is king and we can't pay our bills with receivables, and late payment can really impact a hub or a small business more than any other. So this is to help you advocate for change in this area. And I know we all know what net 30 means in the industry. It means that the payment's got to be in the vendor's hands within 30 days of the invoice date, and that's pretty industry standard. But Texas changed that in 1999 with the Prompt Payment Act. And in layman's terms, a Prompt Payment Act essentially means that the agency owes the invoice 30 days from the later of the date they received the goods or services or the date they receive the invoice. And if they don't pay within those 30 days, they owe an automatic penalty and interest, and the vendor doesn't even have to invoice for those. I can tell you since 1999, we received numerous late payments, and we have received 2 prompt payment penalties. So the agencies really tend to extend the Prompt Payment Act as far as they can, but they really don't pay the penalties, and it's hurtful, and we hear you, and we're trying to get change in that area. I was recently at a conference with vendors who do public business in other states, and I learned that many states have an automatic net 15 payment policy for small businesses and hub businesses, and that's something that we need to be asking about for the state of Texas. Even the federal government has a net 15. That would be so helpful. So with the Prompt Payment Act, for example, my business being a computer business, a technology business, my invoice is due to my vendor 30 days from the day the goods leave the dock. And I don't have a choice to pay my invoice late. They will hold up future shipments, or in many cases they automatically sweep my bank account. And so with the Prompt Payment Act, even if everything flowed smoothly, you're talking about a week delay, because when the goods leave the dock, they're 3, 4, 5 days in shipping, and the agency doesn't receive it till 3 to 5 days later. Even if they have the invoice in hand, the net 30 for them starts the countdown 3 to 5 days afterwards, which for a small invoice might be okay. But all of the hub businesses, we hope for large orders, we bid on large bids, and for $50,000, $100,000 invoice, those are really hard to float for the government. And I know it happens all the time to me, and I know it happens to you all because I hear about it. But some of the flaws in the Prompt Payment Act are it really doesn't define the receipt of the invoice. And the horror stories I've heard from you all and that we've experienced are things like some of the agencies won't accept the invoice by email, which email is immediate. It also gives us an audit trail that the invoice has been sent if there's ever any question, and it gets to them right away. And pretty much everyone has an email address in the state now. Some of them won't. That's getting to be less. I'm hearing that less from you all. What I'm hearing more is what if the wrong person received it? What if the invoice was sent to the person whose name is on the PO, or the person you've always sent it to, and the accounts payable person changed and you don't hear about it? Maybe they're nice enough to tell you the person changed and you can resend it to the next person, and there's only 2 or 3 days delay, and that can be a tough 2 or 3 days. But maybe you don't know about it until the invoice is late and it hasn't been paid, and you call on it and they say, well, you sent it to me and I'm not that person anymore. The other thing is, what if the person in accounts payable is on vacation, or just out of the office, or their mail is piling up and they don't open their mail until a certain date? The net 30 doesn't start ticking until they enter it in their system. The receiving dock, most receiving docks have a very strict policy about receiving things right away, but every once in a while, for example, we'll ship something to a school, and you have a receiving clerk that's also the attendance clerk and other things like that. And they may not do the receiving right away. They don't know the urgency of it. And again, you don't know that it hasn't been done until the payment's late, and then they enter all the information they were supposed to enter, and the net 30 starts ticking right then. And I know we've all got some very reasonable agencies, and if they find out you sent it to the wrong person, or someone didn't do the receiving on their end, or someone was on vacation, they work with you and they try to get it paid on time. But others of them really extend that net 30 as far as they can. And there aren't any real clear definitions of when is something received, when is the invoice considered received, and we really need to work on that definition. So these are the things that when you're out talking to your legislators, do talk to them about the net 15 for small business, but also talk to them about a more clear definition of the receipt of the goods, or in more cases than that, the receipt of the invoice. It should be always able to be emailed, and it should be considered received the day a person in accounts payable receives it. There's no reason one person in accounts payable can't get it to someone else in accounts payable, and preferably a general mailbox, so you don't have to know that this person's responsible for this kind of product and that person's responsible for that kind of product. Another example, you have a lot of agencies who really aren't subject to the Prompt Payment Act. You have municipalities, cities, counties, even schools, but they do adopt the definition of net 30 because it benefits them. They just don't have the penalties and things like that that state agencies should have. So for those, you may need to work individually with their boards and with their governing bodies to get changes. One example here, the city of El Paso, they have a local ordinance that's favorable toward local businesses. So they really try to help out businesses in the local community by awarding local business to them. But at the same time, they have a payment plan, and I don't know if this is true for all commodities or services, but for technology, they pay 30 days from the day they open and inspect everything. So for a very large order, which are the most risky, it may take them days and days to open and inspect everything after the shipment time, and those are very, very tough things to overcome. They're very tough to finance for a small business. And again, many of our bank accounts are swept, or if we don't pay, then our vendor puts us on hold. So I hope this has armed you with information you can take to your legislator, and that you will take to your legislator, because together our voices are louder, and you'll be seeing more of these.